Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, and today I have a special guest. She's called Teresa. Welcome, Teresa.
Asante sana.
So a brief history about the two of us. We went together in the same high school and we've been friends. And now we happen to be in the same career, in the health career. And she's a nutritionist. And today we are going to talk about polycystic ovarian syndrome and polycystic ovarian syndrome, infertility and diet. That is why she's here. So a brief explanation of what polycystic ovarian syndrome is. So polycystic ovarian syndrome, it's just a disease which is majorly a hormonal imbalance, whereby a lady usually has cysts in her ovaries, which are there are fluids that are filled, there are sacs that are filled with fluid, and then they surround the ovaries, and this can prevent ovulation. So by the way I said hormonal imbalance, I meant there's a production of more androgens. So you're a lady but you're producing more testosterone. So you'll have characteristics of someone who has you'll behave like a man, sorry to say like that. So you might have a lot of acne, a lot of facial hair. You can have features of a man because of that testosterone. Another hormone, it's insulin. So most people with polycystic ovarian syndrome usually have insulin resistance. That's why most of them end up developing diabetes. And how does it cause infertility? First of all, I've said it will prevent the release of the egg, so ovulation. That's why you can find that someone who has polycystic ovarian syndrome usually has menstrual irregularities, or they cannot ovulate at all, and that is how it can come to infertility. Imagine you're not able to produce an egg. So what will be fertilized? Nothing. So that is how people end up being infertile. So polycystic ovarian syndrome can be treated in various ways, and one of the ways that you can actually manage it is through diet. So she'll take us through the dietary procedures and what you're supposed to eat, what you're not supposed to eat, and how to basically take care of yourself. So we can start. So you can tell us more about why do we need to have diet in polycystic ovarian syndrome other than other diseases?
So thank you so much for having me, Daktari. So first, you've mentioned quite a number of symptoms, which are basically what we manage as nutritionists. So sorry, I forgot. I am a clinical nutritionist, trained and certified. So that's why I have an authority to speak about this matter. So when you talk about some of the symptoms like the insulin resistance, the acne, and the having hirsutism or having hair like men and having male pattern baldness. For some people, they also get they lose their hair. And for most people, we don't get to know that you have PCOS unless maybe you're trying to have a baby. Most of the time. Yet it can start anywhere between the ages of 14 and 44, just during the reproductive age. So at this point, maybe you might recognize the symptoms, but you might really not relate them to PCOS, the syndrome. But most people, we end up treating symptoms. So we'll probably be treating acne at a dermatologist. You'll be using hair removal procedures, maybe getting the wax, laser, and not really getting to the root of the issue. Another thing that for us as nutritionists we get to experience is people who have difficulty in losing weight. So so a lot of people with PCOS usually are unable to lose weight easily. So as much as they are putting in the work, maybe they are exercising adequately, they're doing the weightlifting, they're doing the cardio, they're eating right, according to how you have recommended, but they're still not losing the weight. So on further investigation, now you've made sure that they're actually eating right, they're putting in the work, but you're not able to lose weight. Then at this point, as a clinical nutritionist, then I would recommend hormone testing. So at this, so I would refer. So basically I would not do the testing. So after referring to maybe a GP, then they would maybe get them to a specialist, then they can have their hormones tested. So basically, mostly the doctor will recommend an adrenal test or to check if the adrenal gland is functioning or the thyroid gland. Sometimes also they might experience hypothyroidism. Yes.
Explains the weight,
the difficulty in losing the weight and also just gaining the weight suddenly. And we also test for insulin, which is produced by the pancreas, which helps in managing the glucose levels in the body. So mostly you mentioned that they do get diabetes. It's diabetes type 2.
Type 2. Yes. Sorry, not type 1.
Yes, so it's diabetes type 2 that is most common for people with PCOS. So knowing all this, what we do or what I would recommend mostly is dietary changes and lifestyle changes to manage those symptoms. So for most people, because insulin resistance is one of the main causes of PCOS, so it could start as a result of being overweight or obese, or it could be genetic. So or whatever the cause, we still need to manage the insulin levels. So how we manage insulin levels as nutritionists, so we recommend diets that are very high in fiber, or rather recommend people to have whole foods. So by whole foods here, we're just basically talking about what people would generally refer to as traditional foods, or carbohydrates that have not been processed. Yes, so basically eat foods that are not coming from a can. They don't come from a packet. They don't have an expiry date.
So straight from the shamba.
Straight from the shamba, exactly. And they have not gone through any process of processing. Not to say that processing is bad, because we have other forms of processing like fortification, which is good, where we add nutrients, vitamins and all those things. But the kind of processing we're talking about is like dehusking, like for the maize meal. We have this we call grade 1. The one you go to the supermarket and then you pick
djembe.
No, let's not tarnish their names, but the finest of the flours, and usually it's at the top of the shelf. It's the most expensive.
Yeah, the most expensive.
But it's been stripped off so much, most of the good things, because we find like our B vitamins, which are good for your metabolism, are found in the husks of our grains, like for the maize, the wimbi. So these vitamins are part of your metabolic process, usually are found in these husks. They're also very good sources of fiber, of which fiber, in simple terms, fiber is undigestible carbohydrates, which help to slow down the process of digestion. Because the end product of any digestion is usually glucose, of which your body produces insulin to try and control these levels of
glucose.
Yes. So when you're having these whole foods, what it does, it will help your body to release, or the foods that you've eaten, to release the glucose slowly but surely into your bloodstream when you need it. So the challenge with having very high insulin produced because of having very simple carbohydrates, this is like white rice, biscuits, white bread, sodas, chapatis, juice, hard candy, chocolates. So when you consume these foods, your body is forced to produce a lot of insulin to counteract that glucose in your body. So in the process, it causes your cells to become first more insulin resistant, because you'll keep needing more and more. So, and having also high insulin levels also stimulates your ovaries to produce more androgens. Yes, of which you had mentioned that people with PCOS have characteristic more androgens than the female hormones, of which androgens are the male hormones. That's why they would experience those symptoms. Yes. So insulin would exacerbate that situation. So what you need to do nutritionally is to always make sure to eat carbohydrates that are whole. So if it's the maize meal, ile ya kusiaga. I don't know in Nairobi where people get that.
Where do you get that? If you have that, you can tell us, then I can just order my maize from home.
Definitely.
And go there,
Yes, because most of our areas where we live in Nairobi do not have those.
They don't have it.
Yeah, but we also have other sources of carbohydrates. We have sweet potato. We have the nduma or the arrowroots. Those are also whole carbohydrates. Like at least for sweet potato and the nduma, you can actually see the fiber.
Yeah, the fiber.
Like when you cut it, you can see the uzi. That's actually fiber. So those are some of the foods. You can also include other whole foods like nuts and seeds. So here are just basic groundnuts, like the one you find when you're in traffic. Seeds like the chia, flax. You can eat sesame seeds or sim. So those are some of the things you can include to make sure that your food is more wholesome, or rather has more fiber to slow down the glucose inside your body and the digestion, and consequently you don't have too much insulin circulating in the body. Another reason why insulin should not be so high in the body is because also insulin usually causes the breakdown of muscle. So you'll notice most people who have PCOS would characteristically have central obesity, or they have
trunk obesity,
they have bigger stomach. Like if you take their waist-hip ratio, you know, for women, waist-hip ratio, you're supposed to have a smaller waist to your hips. So it should be around 0.9 for women. That's the waist hip ratio for women recommended, and for men it's 1.0. So you take the circumference of your waist, circumference of your hips, and then you get that ratio, so it should be 0.9 for women. For women who are exhibiting bigger stomachs, it's because of this insulin. So it will keep breaking down muscle, especially in your midsection, and of course muscle needs to be replaced with something.
So it will replace with
fat. Yes. So other than having whole foods, or rather whole carbohydrates, you also need to include healthy sources of fats and plenty of protein, because first the benefits of having protein in every meal, including your snacks, first, protein increases satiety. Like for example, let's say if you had ugali and sukuma wiki for lunch, and if you had ugali, sukuma wiki and beef, when will you feel more satisfied?
When you have with the beef.
Yes, when you have with the beef. Even when you have a small piece of ugali, but there was a protein source included, then you tend to feel more full. So this fast will help you. First, getting full fast will mean you don't overconsume food. So you'll not have these spikes in blood sugar and have insulin produced in excess. Also protein sources, good protein sources, lean sources, like the lentils. So these are things like ndengu, peas,
beans,
kamande beans, are actually better sources than the red meat, that is beef and pork, which also most of the time, you know, we don't really know our sources of meat, unfortunately. We're not sure if they're grass-fed or they have been
given feeds.
Yes, so when they're given feeds, there's also hormones involved, and that will only make someone suffering from PCOS worse. So you'd rather get your protein sources from the plants, compared, not to say that you should stop eating meat, just reduce the instances at which you have meat as part of your meals.
You get your meat from your shosho, because
yes, at least you know it's grass fed.
It's grass fed.
Yes. So other than that, we also need to have proteins. Are also muscle, they help in building muscle. So bodybuilding. So we talked about insulin breaking down muscle, so you need to keep replacing that, so that you are better able to control your blood glucose when you have more muscle. And of course, if you're consuming adequate lean protein, it's also easier for you to lose weight compared to when you're just eating carbohydrates or just cutting down your portions. But you also need to replace this fat with something. So another food group that is very important is fats. I know fats have been they've been demonized.
I know, like we always say, like don't eat fat. No.
You know, the reason why it's part of the food groups or it helps with diversity is because fats also have their own their own role. So like for example, we have fats help in the digestion of fat-soluble vitamins. That's vitamin A, D, E, and K. So in case you do cut out fat in your diet, then where do you get these vitamins? Which are also just as essential as any other nutrient. So all these vitamins have their work. So that's why you need fat. Also, fat acts as an insulator. That's why people like me don't feel cold.
And me, I'd be like feeling cold here every other time.
So we need fat for insulation. It's a shock absorber. So we also have fat around our organs, our major organs like your heart, your kidneys and whatnot. So they also protect those organs from mechanical factors. Factors. Like if you get into an accident, like if the pressure is not too much, at least if you have a little layer of fat.
Bit of fat. I know if you have bonds, too bad for you.
Yes, you do get injured a lot more.
Yeah.
So we can't really write off fat, but now here we are talking about the good type of fat.
Yeah.
So we get good fat from nuts and seeds, and then these are things like sunflower, groundnuts, cashews. You can get them from sesame seeds, you can get them from chia and flax. All those are good sources of fat.
What about fish oil?
Yes, definitely, and that is also a very good source of fat. So you can have fish oil from the fish itself, or you can get extract, like we have the many brands that usually sell a lot of they sell a lot of fish oil. We also have avocado. I think everyone
most people like avocados.
Yes, so avocados are very good sources of fat. So it's a good source of fat which you can consume alongside your lentils and your whole carbohydrate food. So basically, I'm just saying that when you have a plate for somebody who is suffering from PCOS, it's really not different from what somebody else would eat. Yes, so because we don't want you to feel like it's very restrictive and you can't do this. It just needs to be diversified and everything needs to be whole. So the basics is having whole carbohydrates, that is unprocessed carbohydrates, have adequate lean protein, and then have good quality fat. So these are the long chain fatty acids. Yes, the ones you get from seeds.
Back to biochemistry.
Yes, and the fish and the avocado. So basically that's it. Then I'm sure somebody is wondering, she hasn't talked about
vitamins.
Fruit. Yes, for the vitamins. So you can eat or you can get your vitamins from your vegetables. So the leafy vegetables, you can eat as much as you can or as much as is available. So we have vegetables called cruciferous vegetables.
Okay, which
so
ones
if you know, you remember the types of fish, or we used to call them crustaceans, crabs.
Crustaceans, yes, crab, lobster.
So the vegetables that we refer to cruciferous are like cabbage, lettuce, because of their distinctive shape. So those should be...
Is broccoli in that category?
Yes, definitely. And cauliflower, we have lettuce, cabbage. So those should be on the minimum for people with PCOS.
Oh, they should be on the minimum?
Yes. So you need to get your vegetables from the leafy ones like kale, spinach, the terere,
Murenda.
yes, managu, mito.
Saga, all those.
Definitely. Yes. And just reduce your intake of the cruciferous vegetables because they also tend to increase the levels of hormones or rather androgens in people with PCOS. When it comes to fruit, I think you can taste the sugar in your mouth. That means, like for fruits, they are simple carbohydrates. So the digestion starts immediately. You put it in your mouth, you can taste the sugar. For example, a banana, a pineapple, a watermelon. So you also need to check how much fruit you're consuming. So you need to check for fruits that have low glycemic index, so not fruits that have very high sources of sugar. Which is like almost all of them.
Yeah.
So but the ones that bananas are very high in sugar, pineapples, so watermelon very high. So you need to have things that are more subtle like a pawpaw. You can have oranges, but you know oranges, there's this orange that is in season right now.
Santana.
I don't know what it's called. It has some name. It comes from Makueni. That one is too sweet.
Too sweet.
Yes, so you need to check, not to say that you should not have fruit. Just like somebody who has diabetes. They do have fruit, but they have them in small amounts. So you don't have fruit that causes your blood sugar to spike. So you can plan your meals. So like basically you need to have 3 square meals and 2 snacks in a day for somebody who has PCOS. So we are counting breakfast. Then there's going to be a snack between breakfast and lunch.
And how is this like snack? Or you'll come
so
to
now,
that?
Yes.
Thank you.
So now we can use the fruit as a snack. So that's why I'm putting it like, I'm talking about this because, so that you do not have fruit together with your meals. Because that means you're going to spike your blood sugar immediately and it's going to be very high. So once you had your lunch, then there's also the period between lunch and dinner where you can have your second snack and then have your dinner. So one main rule, I'm sure many people have had this, but even for people with PCOS, you should not skip your meals. Don't skip your meals.
So even for if I want to lose weight, I should not skip my meals?
You just check on your portions. So now that's where we guide people on what portions they should have, but not skipping meals. Because what happens when you skip your meal, what this means, you're going to have a valley in your blood sugar, or rather a drop in your blood sugar. So what this means, once you've skipped a meal, the next time you have a meal, you'll be tempted to have a bigger meal.
A bigger meal to compensate.
First, mentally, you'll be like, ata sikukula lunch.
Yeah.
So I think you can have double portions. Yeah. Or you'll just be very hungry, and you'll not be able to control how much you put in, and that will also cause your blood sugar to rise, causing your body to produce more and more insulin. And this also puts you more at risk of getting now diabetes. If you already just have PCOS without diabetes, you might end up having diabetes.
Okay.
The other danger of over-consuming is also having high cholesterol. That's why I was talking about having good fats, and we talked about it, and we talked about cutting out things like red meat and pork, just having little amounts, because those are very high sources of cholesterol, which is not very supportive for people with PCOS.
LDL.
Yes, LDL.
Lower density lipoprotein.
Yes. So basically, when you talk about the snacks, now you can include the things like the fruits, you can have the nuts, you can have low-fat dairy. So, but you can also choose to cut out dairy in totality, because most dairy sources are very high fat sources of, they have high fat. So that is just normal milk, normal yogurt. So you can use skimmed milk, or you can use milk alternatives, like we have soy, we have almond milk, we have oat milk, though they are a bit on the expensive side. So you may just choose not to consume milk so much.
So you'd advise someone like to stop taking milk?
Yeah, if you cannot get the alternatives, or you can't take it on the minimum, just cut out the milk, or have skimmed milk instead. Yeah, so for the so that is basically for insulin resistance, which is usually among the bigger symptoms. So as we mentioned before, as in most of the people who find out they have PCOS is because they have fertility issues, or they're trying to have children. So for somebody who is trying to have a baby, or trying to get pregnant with PCOS, they probably found out after going to the doctor. The doctor would say something like, oh, you need to lose weight, I'm going to put you on some fertility drugs, or some hormone treatment to make sure that your hormones are balanced and things like that. But these are things that if you just checked what you ate, you will be able to balance your hormones, because you'll be able to balance your insulin, your thyroid, of course, together with the medical treatment, like alongside. Like, we don't say that you stop.
Don't say like I'm doing that exclusively and you stop.
No, so you still need to take your drugs, still need to have those the dietary changes. Then we also recommend other lifestyle changes like exercise. So I'm sure you've had so many times people talking about the importance of exercise. I usually say there are 100 benefits to exercise, and weight loss is just one of them. Yeah, so you can always exercise, and not generally just for weight loss, but it's good for mental acuity, it's good for your hormones.
Just
helps,
keeping fit.
Yeah, it helps to manage your stress and anxiety, especially during this period. As in, like, if you,
so much is going on.
If you do feel anxious, you just need 30 minutes of some intensity workout. You can do a power walk. You can do weightlifting. So for people with PCOS, we recommend at least twice a week they should do weightlifting.
Oh, weightlifting.
Yes, weightlifting is very beneficial when it comes to weight loss, and also beneficial in managing or controlling your blood glucose. So when you're lifting weights, and I know a lot of women would have reservations about lifting weights and thinking they look
muscle, we look like a boy.
No, because you have hormones, you'll never look like a man. And of course, with the right kind of guidance, that is a qualified trainer, you are able to get the right types of weights, right types of exercises that you can do for your condition. So because when you're lifting weights, you're using energy. So this means you're going to be controlling your blood glucose. And then for the other 3 days of the week, you need to do some low intensity workouts. So body workouts, you can walk, a lot of cardio workouts, and things like running, skipping, swimming. All those things are important for somebody with PCOS, and that's among the lifestyle changes they need to make. They also require to drink enough water. Like, water is underestimated in your wellness, because like 70% of the body is made up of water. So if you're not taking enough water, then you're likely not to be able to also be able to control your blood sugar.
Yeah.
So basically what I'm saying for people with PCOS, it's around insulin resistance, controlling your blood glucose. That is basically the most important thing. So as you see in your doctor, they will also be recommending, like every time you have your visit, you'll notice routinely you'll always have your blood glucose checked.
Yeah.
They'll always check your cholesterol. They'll always check your blood pressure. So and also the hormone levels. Yes. So those are some of the tests they would use first to diagnose you, and they'll also use that one as follow-up, as in to check if anything is improving. So that is in case someone is trying to get pregnant. So you have to make sure first you have to lose weight, like there's no two way about it. You have to balance your glucose so that you don't have insulin resistance. And also another lifestyle change that you need to incorporate is managing your stress. Because we know about stress and anxiety and what it does to the body physically. It will cause your body to produce hormones again, so it will destabilize your whole system. So yeah, basically that's
and
it.
You mentioned like we are not supposed to eat, actually I've just been thinking about it. You're not supposed to eat food and then you take a fruit after, of which most of us actually do that because you know fruits are like we talk about them as dessert or part of. I know.
So it's fine to use them, but now I'm talking about someone who has insulin resistance, someone whom we don't want them to overproduce insulin because we don't want their bodies to have a spike in blood glucose. So if you have a meal, for example, you've had a plate of rice, that's a carbohydrate. So and then you had maybe with some beans. So beans are largely protein, but there's like 30% of it is actually carbs.
Like carbohydrates.
Yes. And then you're going to have vegetables. Let's say you had kale. Largely, they are also just leafy, fibrous, but they also have a small percentage of it that is carbs, right? And then you add there a banana. So you see, too much starch already. So you might even just choose to maybe consume the beans and the vegetables because you'll still get your starch inside there. Or you can have peas and maybe if it's meat and vegetables, you still ate your starch. You just didn't eat as much as you'd get from ugali, from rice, from pastas and things like that.
Oh, okay. So it's really important that we also watch our portions. Do you have the formula of the portions that you're supposed to eat? Because I'm told, I don't know, you're supposed to fold this. I've never understood.
So we have different tools. Like the one you're describing is a common tool we usually called the Zimbabwean hand jive. So of course it came from Zimbabwe. That's why it's called that. So the Zimbabwean hand jive is where we use our hands to demonstrate portions of food from each food group so that you're able to diversify and still get the right amounts. So we'll start with carbohydrates, where carbohydrates should be the size of your fist.
So like this?
Yes. Okay. So just the size of, kama ni ugali inatoshana tu na hii.
This one for a luya.
Yes. So you just need to have just a fist.
A fist.
So you can estimate with your eyes, because you know you can't put the ugali in your fist.
Wait, it's not like it's the circumference.
No, the whole of it.
Oh, the whole of it.
Yes, like the way when I hold a fist.
Yeah, like this.
Yes.
So the whole.
So this is for your carbohydrates, okay? And then when it comes to your protein, now you open your palm.
Like this.
So the palm size without your fingers. So this is the palm.
So like this.
So this should be the size of your protein. So if you're going to have a piece of meat.
So if I'm supposed to have like chicken, I should just have
that size. That's enough. Not more than 1 Linda.
What? Okay.
If it's fish, it should just be that size. If it's
not a whole fish.
Not a whole fish, kindly. So you need to like get half of it. And then when it comes to, so that for fat, we want to I want to insist that we use liquid fats for cooking. Even for people with PCOS. Sorry, I had not mentioned that. I talked about good fat, but I didn't talk about fat that we cook with. Even for cooking, they need to have the liquid fat. So the olive oil, sunflower, and just basically any oil that does not solidify when it's cold, then it's good for you.
Oh, it's good for you.
Yes. Okay. So for cooking oil, you just need to get the size of your thumb.
What? Like this amount?
No, just this tip of your, actually it's the tip,
like
sorry.
This tip?
Yes, the tip of your thumb is enough for cooking.
What?
Yes. And then when it comes to sugar, it's the size or the tip of your small finger. That's all you require.
Like this is the amount of sugar I'm supposed to take?
Yes.
Is it per meal or per day?
That is per meal.
Oh, per meal.
Yes.
Okay,
So at the end of the day, you
okay.
probably have like 3 of those.
Okay.
Yes, that is if you are consuming a lot of sugar.
Mm-hmm.
So that is one of the methods which you can use to portion your food.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have another common method that we usually use is the
you've not talked
plate.
about vitamins in this.
Yeah, so sorry. Thank you for that reminder.
Yeah.
So for the vitamins, when it comes to the vegetables, we usually talk about having 2 handfuls of vegetables. So of course in the profession you always have to have these issues where people argue whether is it raw, is it cooked? But for me, I usually say it's the raw vegetables, the ones you can hold with 2 of your hands.
Okay.
Kama ni sukuma wiki, you can grab.
So but if you cook it, it will shrink.
Exactly. That's why I'm telling you there's that argument. Like we can never seem to agree, when it comes to vegetables. Are we going to portion them cooked or
uncooked?
Or uncooked.
Yeah.
But I like to use them raw. If you get all this raw, I'm sure even when you cook, it will reduce enough for one portion for one person. Yeah. So that's why you get. And then of course on the side we have, you are as an adult, you're allowed 2 servings of dairy. So a serving is 250 ml. So you require at least 500 ml of dairy. So it can be in the form of yogurt, fresh milk, skimmed milk, cheese, basically any butter, sources of dairy. So just for children, it's 250, so that's just 1 serving. For adults, it's 2 servings. For children, it's just 1 serving.
Okay.
So you can use that to help you portion your food. But for people with severe insulin resistance or people who already have diabetes type 2, then I think the restrictions usually go a bit further. So here you have to work with a dietitian or a nutritionist very closely, because now we've moved from just having food models to being more specific to a person, to the patient. Because even just like any other condition, people will exhibit symptoms differently. They react to food differently. So I might be having diabetes type 2 and so do you, and when I consume this amount of rice, my blood sugar spikes really high, and yours does not. Yes. So for us, we call for individualized management for
patient-centered care.
Yes.
Yeah, it's everywhere. Medicine, nutrition, pharmacy.
So we just don't have like a one fit all. So like what I've given were just guidelines, but someone needs to be guided according to their laboratory results, because I will be able to make my nutrition diagnosis and my prescription based on what the doctor has.
The doctor has actually.
Yes, so the testing, the recommendations, then I can be able to work with this person to do that for them.
Okay. And you mentioned about supplements. Yeah, so as a nutritionist, would you advise someone to regularly take supplements or to just get the nutrients from the diet?
So as at now, in more recent studies when it comes to PCOS, supplements are among the things that we have now included in the management of PCOS. But you can only, even just like in any other condition, even for children, adults, and many other things, we only give supplements after testing. So we really need to identify that you're actually deficient, and you need the support. We just don't give supplements like
just
sweets.
Because
no. So we need to have you tested. That's why I'm talking about going back to the doctor, having the tests done. So when your blood work gets to me, then I'm able to make an informed decision of what we need to supplement you with. Yes.
And before that, you were explaining another method of portioning before I cut you short about the vitamins. So you can explain that and then we conclude.
Another common method that we use is the plate model. So I'm sure you've seen plates where the plates are portioned, like the ones.
Yes. In hotels I usually see like they're divided.
So like there's always like the plate is usually divided into 4. So we have one half where we have the vegetables. Remember in the hand jive, we're talking about vegetables being like 2 handfuls. Like so in this plate model, the vegetables are the largest portion. So half the plate needs to have vegetables. So of course this is to make sure you have the fiber to help you control your blood glucose. And then the other half, we divide it into a quarter, where 1/4 we have the whole carbohydrates. So the brown rice, unsifted maize meal, sweet potato, the nduma, spaghetti, but not just spaghetti or rather pasta, but you can also check the pasta sauce. So like when you go to the supermarket, like I don't want to mention this brand, but there's a brand that if you go, you'll notice that they have different colors for spaghetti.
Oh, really?
But you'd keep wondering why is it different,
Why?
and it's the same product. But what this tells you, these colors are usually characteristic of the source of the pasta. So most pasta is made from wheat. We also have pasta that is made from semolina. So semolina is like more whole compared to wheat. So you'll just go check, you'll find some are black, as in the color of the packaging, black, you'll have green, and some have blue. So when you read through, you'll notice the ingredients, so you're able to choose whole carbohydrate.
I actually didn't know that. So at least it's a practice that we've learned.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the other quarter, then you have your lean protein. So we're talking about lean protein. So we have chicken, we have eggs, we have lentils, ndengu, beans. We also have beef and pork, but you need to limit your intake of those food items, because most of the time you'll realize that pork is not lean. Pork is not lean. It has a lot of fat. Yes,
but there's that part of pork that
so
is
it depends
lean.
So now you need to go to like this very serious butchery where they cut, they give you cuts, you know. There's like there's pork belly, there's the sirloin steak, the one that comes from the leg. That is the more leaner one, because now the pig was moving, so that's more lean. So even when it comes to your meat, you need to pick cuts that have less fat. Yes.
Yes. Fine. Yeah, so there's so much that I've actually personally learned from her, and I hope it's helped you. Yeah, so in conclusion, in case of any questions, in case of any nutritional advice that you'd want, she can tell you her email address. I'll also link it in the description box, then you can reach out to her.
Okay. So thank you. So my email address is Teresa, that is Teresa, Makokha, makokha.tm@gmail.com. So yeah, I'm available on email. So for further appointments, so once we talk on email and we're able to agree, then we can discuss that and talk about it.
Yeah, so you've heard that. You can always consult her. She's available. And yeah, I think this is it for this video, and thank you so much. I hope you've learned something about PCOS and diet, and I hope that if you have PCOS, you can actually follow the guidelines that she's given and you'll be able to get well. Yeah, so make sure you subscribe to my channel, and let's engage in the comment section, and see you in my next video. Bye.
Thank you.